The very concept of this the very concept of this Lord Buddha statue, carving, transporting and erection in the midst of Hussain Sagar at Hyderabad is something very unique. I do not think many such marvels were done in the recent years. So first of all, if we go back to the days of 1985-1986, the Buddha statue was carved out of a single rock from a mother hillock at Raigiri, some 60 to 70 kilometers away from Hyderabad. Now, when the statue rock was taken off the hill, it was a problem as to how to load it on to a trailer, because it was in a slopey area and the engineers didn't have a crane of adequate capacity, something like 450 tons and odd. Therefore, the statue rock in a semi-finished state, something like 440 tons in weight, had to be taken out methodically, delicately, and then transferred on to what we call stools. This itself was a very major operation, that is the sliding operation or skidding operation, what we may call. Now after that, it was loaded on to a trailer. The trailer was a combination of 3 small trailers making a large one, some 192 wheels, and then the whole statue was transported on. Well, en route numerous problems came. First of all, the roads were very narrow, they had to be widened. Secondly, they were also not very strong to carry that much of pointed load, they had to be again strengthened. And then the electrical lines, the telephone lines, as you know, their height was so low that they had to be ripped off to allow the statue to pass and then reconnect immediately. And above all that, some of the bridges and culverts, they were of so adequate capacity that these also had to be strengthened, or some bypass routes had to be made. Finally, it was a national highway. We could hardly keep the road shut off for a period of about 8 to 10 hours because of the heavy traffic, and therefore surmounting all these problems, within a matter of about 24 to 36 hours, the statue was brought in a semi-finished state, some 450 tons in weight, about 25 meters in length, and so on, to the shore of Hussain Sagar. Now, the other question which you asked me about the unfortunate incident or accident of the 10th March 1990. Yes, it was a very sad affair. About 8 people lost their lives. Well, if looking back, it transpires that the reasons could be 2 primarily. One is the inadequate supervision. I mean the desired supervision required for such type of works. It is not an ordinary work, not a run-of-mill type. It's something special, something extraordinary. So engineers trained in shipbuilding, naval architecture and marine engineering, they should have been associated, particularly those who are well versed in what we call the load out operations. This was not done. Secondly, the very design of the barge, it was just designed to take the bare minimum load without much of factor of safety. So certain amount of design deficiency also crept into the cause of the accident. Well, Hussain Sagar is a landlocked lake, it's not a sea, samudra nahi hai. So naturally the design had to be with bolt and nut connection. About 20 tanks were joined together and these formed into a large barge on which the trailer was supposed to take the Lord Buddha statue with all the appurtenances. The whole thing weighing as much as about 650 to 700 tons. Now, this type of design is all right as long as the supervision is perfect, but at certain places where the bolt and nut connection should not be done, they should be avoided, so that one single bolt giving away or one single bolt and nut connection which is not very nicely tightened up is likely to create havoc. This is what exactly happened looking back. Therefore, I personally feel that if the supervision was of a high order and if the design was slightly on a sounder basis with a greater factor of safety, this sort of incident could not have happened at all. The third part of it is, well, any design that we do should have some built-in margin. You can't expect the trailer to just fall in line with the center line of the barge. So necessarily one has to see what we call in the shipbuilding parlance or naval architecture parlance the verification of the drafts on the right side, that is starboard side, on the port side on the left, on the forward side, the aft side, along the keel, that is center line, and on the bilgeways, that is on either side of the center line. All these factors were practically given a go by from what I saw from the documentation. दुर्घटना तो हो ही गई है, मगर बुद्ध भगवान का स्टैच्यू को पानी से कैसे निकालना है, that was the main problem. In the wake of this accident, the government of Andhra Pradesh have appointed a committee of engineers drawn from various disciplines. I had the good fortune of being one of them. Now, different people, different solutions. So what we did, we have listed out the various alternatives, and then we have floated global tenders from within the country and also from outside. We also addressed the various governments, particularly the Buddhist countries. Unfortunately, the response has been very very poor. और जो इंडियन ठेकेदार जो ऑफर दिए हैं, they were all half baked. Now they gave some solution here and there. So finally the committee deliberated at great length and then brought out an integrated design. This design is the first of its kind, again to my knowledge, in the world. We have conceived a moon pool system. A moon pool ये ऐसा व्यवस्था है where you have the barge but there is a central well in between, in the middle, जैसा कुआं जैसा, so that one can inspect what was there in the middle. One can also retrieve an object from that. Then simultaneously we have put the divers, both the navy divers and also the civilian divers. These chaps unfortunately could not locate the damage to the yard because of the heavy siltation for a good number of years. The tank was not cleaned, therefore nearly about a meter and a half depth of silt was lying. So the three instructions given to all the concerned were: one, the yard is intact, the statue is intact without any damage. The second, the statue should be lifted like a mother nestling her newborn baby. So the statue should be deemed as a live body, not a sunken ship. The third, having brought up the statue, non-repetition or non-occurrence of the type of damage that occurred on the 10th of March 1990. With these three, with the touch and feel method, whatever the divers gave to us, we found the yard was lying face down. It added more problems to us. So using this moon pool system and the principle of buoyancy, we finally lifted the yard a little below the water, examined the yard's statue, found that the damage was minimal, and then lifted up once and for all, as you might have seen from the feature film. Now, one question which was put to me was how to see that such things do not recur, this sort of incidents or accidents. I can only say the designers of the barge should have designed the barge with slightly greater length and greater width, so that even if the trailer carrying the statue were to move slightly away from the center line, still the barge is capable of taking that much of eccentricity, what we call, so that this sort of incident and accidents could not have happened. Remember, the statue in its finished condition was 350 ton in weight, about 19 meter in length and 4.5 meters in width, and to the best of my knowledge and belief, I do not think a work of this magnitude, and that too on a single monolithic stone, was ever attempted or done successfully in any part of the world. This is all what I can say. Thank you.
పోనీ పోనీ పోనీ.
Well expensive.